It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Financial Crisis Talk Center time. We're on a second of a two-part story on elder law. This is part two of two parts.
Oh, two of two?
I've got Dave Einstandig from Thav Gross, Brian Small from Thav Gross, myself from Thav Gross. I'm Ken Gross. And we have back with us Pat Simasko, who joined us on the first segment from Simasko Law.
Thanks for having me.
Elder law attorney. So now, our last segment, we kind of explored Medicaid issues with regard to elder law. I want to kind of back up, and I kind of just want to talk about other elder law issues. I kind of want to look at is if our audience are seniors or children of seniors, which basically covers everybody except little kids, and little kids are probably not going to be listening to this radio show at this time. They're going to be watching Barney or whatever.
We don't know how many big kids are going to be listening if you keep going like that.
Whatever they watch on early morning
Barney.
Radio
You can tell
and TV.
he does qualify for the definition.
But here's
of
the
elder.
question: is where do I start in the analysis if I'm an elder person?
Let me throw that out. If you're looking at it from a lawyer's standpoint, people come in to see me or lawyers to protect their assets on a legal basis, but the lawyers never talk about protecting their assets on a financial basis. So these people come in and say, hey, we lost 45% of our assets when the market crashed back in 2008. Now they're back here, and they're not doing anything about it to reposition themselves. They're just destined to happen again if the market.
So they need to make financial moves.
Well, yeah, that's one that we do a lot of retirement planning and income planning. But I just wrote an article for the Bar Association. Lawyers, when they're talking about doing their power of attorneys and their estate plans, there was an article written by Michael Fink, who's a professor out of Texas, that said when you're 60 years old, your financial decision-making ability drops 2% per year, just because of the normal aging process. When you're 80, you have 100% confidence in all of your financial decisions that you made. So you're dropping this way, and your decision-making feelings are 100%. It's a ripe for failure.
So you're firm in your belief you're just making the wrong decisions.
You're firm in your belief that the decision that you make are 100% correct, even though they may not be.
I can totally see that with the people. Here's the way I look at it when a client comes into us and we're right on the same page. The first thing when I sit down with an elder couple, because they're already coming to us because they perceive that they're in some financial problems. Unfortunately, we're saying come in and talk to us because you might be in financial problems and you don't realize it yet. That's what we see all the time. But the first question I always want to look at is your income coming in has to cover your expenses.
Your basic expenses.
Yeah. Unless you're so old that you'll be able to have enough, you can exhaust your savings and there'll be something left over because there's enough money there and your life expectancy is so short, you don't have to worry. But if your savings is a modest amount and you're hopeful that if you're in your 70s that you're going to make it to 95, so that you're not realistically going to have all that savings left, you have to be in a position where your income exceeds your basic expense. And the issue there is if you have savings, are you able to avoid invading principal, which is a very difficult situation because you have to get an awfully big return on your principal in order to do that if you're just supplementing it with Social Security. Do you have enough money to cover your expenses? And if your expenses are too high, what do you do? What are your options? And that's where Brian comes into play, and that's where financial crisis management comes into play. What are the options to reduce those expenses? That's what I see with people. And then the question is, what options do you have?
Well, when you got elder
people that are coming in to see me, the first thing I do is I try and figure out how I can eliminate their debt to allow them to utilize the funds that they have. And I talk about getting rid of the house that's underwater, getting rid of the house that isn't underwater, that's costing them too much, downsizing, reducing needless expenses. You find an incredible number of parents in their late 60s, early 70s, late 70s who are still supporting their adult children. And yet they will go without food on their table to make sure that their daughter is driving the $480 a month car payment.
I'm completely with you. The thing that I see most recurring, and I think it goes right to what you were saying with Pat, is the older the people get, the less acuity level they have in really seeing where they're going. They'll come in and they're in their mid-70s, and they're down to $40,000 in savings. They had $250,000 in savings 3-4 years ago.
And the market tanked, or they spent
the market,
it, yeah.
and they gave it to their kids and everything else, and they're still hemorrhaging at the rate of $3,000-$4,000 a month between what they're spending, whether they're giving it to their kids, they're making a mortgage payment that's too high, and they don't. The light still hasn't gone off that says, something, at the rate you're going, next July you're not going to have money to pay for food.
Well, one thing's for sure is you're definitely going to qualify for Medicaid.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
If it goes forever.
No, you won't.
You have nothing.
That's the problem, that you won't.
Unless what?
When you start giving the money to the kids like that, whether to pay tuition, that's that 5-year look back. People think they can give away $14,000 a year because the IRS says they can. The total gift allowed in a 5-year period is $250
for Medicaid planning.
Yeah. So if you gave that. We've had a case where grandma was paying grandson's tuition at the high school, $300 a month. Husband went in the nursing home 2 years later. They had to get all that money back.
What
if
they can't get the money back?
You won't get Medicaid.
And then what do you do?
Then you're living in someone's basement, like I heard here. They don't want to live in their son's basement anymore. Medicaid will not pay unless you can have the ability to return that gift money.
So if you have no money,
if you give your money to your kids,
you've given your money away, you haven't done it the right way, you haven't done Medicaid planning so that you're not Medicaid eligible,
right?
And you need a nursing home, you're on the street.
Yeah.
Well, how does that come about?
That's a big social problem.
That's a big deal.
How does that come about? If you're Is there a certification that you need to give on an application?
Yeah.
For Medicaid
on your Medicaid
dollars?
application, you have to say, did you give away any money in the last 5 years? And then Medicaid has the right to get the bank statements to verify what happened to that $336.
And do that?
Does the spouse have to sign the application and the children as well?
Either one, spouse, just some family member.
Under penalties of perjury?
Absolutely.
We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to think about this.
Don't let legal problems destroy your family or your life. Get the justice you deserve. I'm Sabrina Cronin of the Cronin Law Firm, and I'm here to make things right. My firm handles family law, business law, and even criminal law. We can handle all of your legal needs. So whatever you're facing, I'm here to get you justice. You can't afford not to call. Call 855-CRONIN-LAW today.
I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't run or exercise. I couldn't work.
Dr. Lewis Radin believes that pain shouldn't have to wait. His Spine Specialist of Michigan is a comprehensive center dedicated to helping you manage pain now. Expect the latest techniques and personalized care. Why suffer another minute?
He's the best. I tell people that he's the one that saved my life.
Make your appointment with Dr. Radin. Call 248-792-9496.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns? Facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
We did. We sat down together and solved your tax problem.
No more letters, no more phone calls. They saved me.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
All right, welcome back. We've got Brian Small, Dave Einstein, and myself, and we also are with Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, and we're talking about elder law issues. When we went to the break, we were talking. This is the craziest. So you could have no money. Because you've spent all you're living on is Social Security, but you've gone through your entire IRA by way of taking it out in distributions, and really a great portion of it, let's say over the last 3 years, $60,000 has gone to your children just in gifts and covering their car payments, and their house was underwater, so you're trying to help them avoid foreclosure.
Right.
And now you need to go in the nursing home. You have no money.
Right.
All you have is $2,000 a month in Social Security coming in.
Right.
And you go through the application and you find out you got to ante back up that $60,000.
Your kids do, yeah.
Or else where you go?
Someone's basement.
What if, and this is a situation that I have with the
Kinda,
client. Hold on.
Kind of
What
like
if,
Dave when they put the president in the basement.
Yeah.
What if you have a couple that are taking care of grandkids and their own kid living in their house, and the reason is because there's an illness. There's an illness with one of the kids, and there's illness with both of them, a recognized illness. Does that
with the parents?
No, with the grandkids, and the child.
I got
they're all living at the house.
I got a worse one than that.
No, do you still if you use money for food and shelter and medicine and automobiles?
Oh, you mean the money that was supplied?
I would argue that we wouldn't even talk to Medicaid about that. That's just regular living expenses. But we had a case right now where a single woman, she was a high executive at Bank of America or Chase, something like that. She went to China and adopted 2 young children, came back to living great. They're about 14 and 15 right now, and she has dementia. Medicaid does not allow us to give any money into those 2 little kids' names, her own biological children. That would be called divestment.
Because
because she's because she's giving away her assets. They would not allow. We have to take all of that money and do a half a loaf plan. They won't allow mom to put money into her minor children's name, so they have money to live for the rest.
What about using? Forgetting the minor
Wow.
children. Let's say your children are of majority. Can you utilize the money, the half a loaf plan, and then take the other half? And at least be paying your children to be caregivers of yourself. Is that allowed?
There is, right now in Michigan, there's a presumption that if you take care of your parents, you're doing it for love, which hopefully that's the case. Anytime that a parent pays the kid to take care of their mom, it's a gift, unless you have a doctor's note that says that she needs the care and she would be in a nursing home without the care. And it has to be a notarized care.
But is it a two-way street where if you're taking care of the kid who's a 45-year-old kid, you're taking care of that kid who has got, let's say it's a dependency issue.
Yeah, that's...
is that permitted?
No, not on a cash basis. You know, food and cable bills and stuff like that, that's okay. One real weird rule in Medicaid is, like we just said, you can't give money to your minor children. If mom's 80 and she has that son that's on Social Security disability, but he's still golfing every day, like maybe they do, you can give all the money to a disabled child and it's not considered a gift. So if you have...
What if they're not disabled?
If they have to be on Social Security disability for it to be considered not divestment. If they're not on it, then it'd be a gift.
So if you co-sign and you're paying for their automobile, that's going to be a clawback.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So what if you decide to go out and
want to
get?
move off of this.
Wait,
So
one more question.
Go ahead. One more.
You
ask
got
one more question.
so you do the half a loaf program, saving half. Can you take the other half and buy a life insurance annuity?
Yeah. You would.
Can you spend it?
Here's the question: that
You mean the half that you're keeping?
No, the half that you would lose. Can you spend it and have it be, let's say?
No, that half has to go to the nursing home. So you have two halves. One half goes to the nursing home,
And one half you keep.
and the one half the family gets to keep. And the idea is that, well, who's going to be paying the taxes on the house? Insurance on the house,
That's for the
upkeep
family.
on the house. If mom goes to the nursing home, you have to pay a bed hole typically.
So that's the rationale of keeping the one half
Right,
of the loaf.
Absolutely.
All right, here's what I kind of want to step back and I want to just go. I want to focus on the elder couple, their planning issues beyond Medicaid issues, and because I want to, and staying right with the point that you made, where they're not making the right decisions. So I want to identify critical things and steps and issues that they have to avoid. And the first one we always talk about is do not draw funds from your IRA and your retirement funds to pay down credit card debt and to pay for a house that is hopelessly underwater. And if you're doing that, or if your parents are doing that, absolutely you need to stop the process, intercede, and have them come in and meet with someone to analyze what is a better option.
And Ken, wouldn't the overall theme be to get all of your good assets, your cash, your securities, your cash value accounts, out of your estate and into a certain planning technique, so that even at the end of the day, if this house that is underwater is in your estate, but there's no assets to get to, then at a certain point in time, you just give the keys, or the beneficiaries give the keys to the creditor and say, go for it.
Absolutely, David. But there's a more important point that I want to make to the elder people and to the children of elder people that they don't realize is you're 100% right on a planning perspective, but that's covering the death issue. I'm talking about living. And what I can't stand is when a person comes into our office after they've already gone through $150,000 of their IRA to pay to Bank of America, Chase, Discover, PNC, and all the other banks on their 20% and 25% credit card interest, and they've been paying for a house that's hopelessly underwater, when if they would have been smart...
What would have happened? $250,000 in the 401k. What would you... They got Bank of America and Chase and Wells Fargo.
We would have put them into potentially a bankruptcy and discharged the debt. We would have settled the credit card debt. We would have short-sold the house or modified the mortgage with principal reduction. There are so many things they could do, but just throwing the money away is painful to me. And they keep on doing it. And the worst thing is, when you talk to someone who's in their mid-70s, they're going to sit there and say to you, I don't want to hurt my credit score. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about that a little bit. We'll be back.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Financially strapped? Do you want to save your home?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop. For the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition, Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course with the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder in Madison Heights.
Carrying too much debt? Dump your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. We're with Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, Brian Small, David Einstein, and Ken Gross. We're talking elder law issues this segment and the last segment. And, you know, at the break, a really major point came across. The four of us are all talking, along with the rest of the crew, and everybody is chiming in on issues that they have in their family that touch on exactly these issues. And the point is that people don't plan and take the initiative to look out for these issues, and it's pervasive among everybody. Everybody, if you have parents and they're getting older, it's going to happen. Well, if you're older, it's going to happen.
It's funny, though. Everyone here said, oh, but my dad's got it all set. My aunt's got it all set. Everybody thinks they have it all set. They don't have anything set.
You know, the reality is that we're all going to get older, or we're not. But at some point, we have to shift earlier on to being proactive than being reactive.
Right.
We tend to be reactive when it comes to getting old because we want to ignore the fact that we're going to be in a box some point.
And again, the box isn't the problem. It's the things that lead up to the boxes causes all the problems.
Yeah, once you're in the box,
no one's afraid of dying.
You got four square corners. You're
no
fine.
Put the worms in your eyes.
Yeah.
Well,
so the idea is that you have to
start.
It starts with the retirement planning, though. We talk about is that I ask my clients on a suitability point is 70, 80 years old, whether she got 40,000 or 400,000, it's spread out over stocks and bonds. I go, out of all the money that you have to date right now, and you have so many years left, how much of it can you afford to lose?
Right.
They all say none.
Right.
Well, why the hell are you in the stock market? And why are you in the bonds and things like that?
Yeah, they got to do planning. And where I see it all the time is they come in and they got $50,000 of credit card debt. They're spending $1,250 a month just making minimum payments on their credit cards. And their housing cost, their kids are moved out. They're living in a 4-bedroom home built in the 60s that beyond the maintenance cost has $500 a month minimum in utilities, and their first mortgage and their second mortgage payment comes to a total of about $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And because of that, they're like $2,500 a month short, sucking up the IRA and running out of cash. And I say to them, you know, we can do so many things for you. We can get rid of the credit card debt. That's $1,250 a month in your pocket. We can get rid of we could keep the house and get rid of the second mortgage and save another $400 a month. Or we can get rid of the house. You can move into an apartment that's going to cost you $1,600 a month, which is a decent apartment. And instead of spending $3,000 plus the maintenance on the house, you're now ahead $4,000 a month. Now all of a sudden, you're not losing your savings account.
No, it's more important than that. You're able to sleep when you go to bed.
That's the key.
Yeah.
People forget the value of sleeping.
And they sit there and they say, and then they come back and they say, yeah, but I don't want to hurt my credit score. You know, my God, I've had a good credit score my whole life.
Isn't it hurt already?
And that's where you come back to what you're saying. Unfortunately, it's not just among the elder people that don't realize that. Younger people it applies to, but for the person who's done. They're in their senior years. They've bought their last car or they've leased their last car. They don't even ever have a need for credit. So the credit score is worthless to them. If you're in your 40s, you have to evaluate when you make financial decisions and we make moves to get rid of debt, whether we settle credit card debt, whether we file a bankruptcy. We evaluate, okay, what is your need for credit? do we want to take our action and implement our plan today, or maybe do we want to delay it 6 months after you lease your next car or you buy your next car so that you can hang on to it, and then a year later we file the bankruptcy? There's planning issues when you're younger, but when you're older, you never have that need for the credit score, but your ability to make clear, smart decisions is clouded by the fog that starts settling in on the brain.
And we talk about the elder law aspect to it, just touching base on this 5-year look-back period we talked about. You need to be able to plan for the 5-year look-back period. So if you do it and you don't get to those 5 years, you don't accomplish what
at least you're trying, though.
It gets you closer.
Yeah.
So give me it goes back to your John F. Kennedy or Robert Kennedy.
Oh, you really want me to do it?
You better hear.
Well, didn't you start with Annie last week?
Yeah, last segment
last week.
So you really want to hear the Robert F. Kennedy?
Yeah.
If not now, when?
That's right.
Is that decent?
Yeah.
People always ask me when should I start planning? I go today, because you can't start yesterday. You can only start today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's people so often sit there and say, "Well, I didn't take care of this," and then their hands are they feel handcuffed, and then they're afraid to move because they're so upset by what they lost on the table by not moving sooner. But you can still draw the line. At least you're saving tomorrow.
Pat, you would agree with me that, let's say my dad's listening or watching, that he should immediately implement that gifting program to his son.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Very important for him, because he likes the word very.
Medicaid, VA says that, we didn't talk about VA planning, but Medicaid says you can give away your assets to your kids. But the trouble is, if you have 5 kids, one of them's a bad kid, which is a drug addict, bankruptcy issues, things like that. So all the rules about putting your assets in your kids' names are true. Their problems become your problems. We use these asset preservation trusts that protect from those.
Got to watch those issues. I want to thank our sponsors. We're kind of running out of time. Cronin Law Firm, Venn Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Simasco Law. Thanks, Pat, and thanks for being on the show the last couple of segments. Double Action Shooting Range and Gun Shop in Madison Heights, Spine Specialist in Michigan. I want to remind people, we don't have any seminars going on right now, but you can still come in, get a free consultation, call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP, or go to our websites, financialcrisistalkcenter.com or thavgross.com. You can sign up there, get information, go to the websites, get resource information. Now, we got another minute. How do we summarize what we've covered in the last 2
Here's how you
segments.
summarize. You look to your left, the person to your left, and you look to the person to your right, and you look at yourself. And each one of you are woefully deficient in planning for everything that we've talked about on this show and last week.
And one of you will be in a nursing home. 32 months is the average length. It's $8,000 a month is the average cost. 30% will be in the nursing home.
So it's either going to be that, or we got to get Al from Double Action and get a Smith & Wesson and take care of the
There you go. Listen, Courtside Radio with Scott Weinberg is up next. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. We will be back with the Financial Crisis Talk Center.